I am Denise Brady. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I watched all of Dancing for the Devil, the docu-series. And so as much as there's been a lot of hype, a lot of limelight focused on Miranda and her family, I think there are some other voices in this docu-series that we need to focus more on their healing and their story. So in this one, I'm going to focus more on the sisters, Priscilla, and how their stories really do matter. So if you're ready, let's get into it. Now, before I start this video, make sure you like, you subscribe, do all the things, because I need to hit and beat that algorithm. I need y'all help, okay? Now, I'm not focusing so much on the story because we know it's been a cult-like dancing for the cult. We know about this person, a man of God, okay? And I think this person really takes advantage of, like most abusers, take advantage of people who are looking for connection, looking for love, and who have come from families where they're not getting that. And I think when it comes to, Priscilla and her sister, I really feel like they were in a place where they were looking for family. They were looking for that, to be seen, to be held. And I think that's what his family, the church, provided for them. They were in a place in their lives where they were just looking for love and connection, like so many of us, so many people who fall victim to these kind of situations. It may not be a cult, it may not be cult-like, but it could be an abusive relationship. And I appreciate how, Miranda and her sister and her family really brought limelight to this whole situation. But I feel like at times the voices of people of color get watered down, kind of get lost. And even when I was doing my research for this recap analysis, a lot of it was heavily focused on Miranda, her family, even the other parents. Okay, it took me a while to scroll down and see Priscilla and her sister as part of the cast and people who spoke out about and shared their stories. And it just reminds me of how people of color, when we're lost, kidnapped, murdered, our stories sometimes don't matter as much in the public eye. If you can relate, let me know. I feel like at times, because we don't fit the aesthetic in a lot of places on social media, in the media in general, that we don't matter as much. And so I really want to focus more on her story, Priscilla's story, because she does matter. Her voice matters. And I think her story relates to a lot of people. And I do a lot of work with individuals who have been survivors of labor abuse, SA trafficking abuse. I've done a lot of work, and it really touched me, her story, because it could have been anybody. Her story is a lot of people's. It could be you could be a survivor, you could be someone who got caught up in this same life, but maybe, you didn't. But it took a lot for her to be vulnerable, share her story with the public over and over again, going to the police over and over again. And it just feels like there was a lack of attention of that. And watching it, I was happy to see that, okay, as much as they front loaded with Miranda's family, maybe to gather attention, get the money for the docuseries, I love how it pivoted more towards Priscilla and her story, because Priscilla is still healing. And Priscilla, all these people are really healing, but Priscilla touched me in a different place, because it just reminded me so much of my clients as they're doing the work, they're healing. Sometimes people want to support brother, sister, mama, daddy. I want to meet you where you are. What do you need from me? How can I help you? But instead of providing the support that family member, that friend needs, you're providing them with the support you think they need. Have you really asked them, what do you need from me? How can I help you? How can I be there for you? And it was such a pivotal thing for me to see these two sisters, a parallel process, because you see Miranda and her sister trying to, I don't know if heal, but connect. But you also see these two sisters over here, to me, doing the real work of trying to reconnect. And I think I'll talk a little bit about Miranda later. But this one was more interesting, because I think a lot more people can relate to wanting to heal, overcome things that brought about shame, guilt, self-forgiveness. A lot of times when I'm working with survivors of these kind of situations, they can sometimes forgive people on the outside, but there's a struggle to forgive myself for the choices that I made. And I often tell them, you made those choices out of survival. You weren't out there looking to get snatched up by the man on the street. You weren't out there looking to be put in that situation because of the circumstances of your life, and oftentimes circumstances that other people have put you in. You end up in that situation where you were unfortunately abused and taken advantage of. So I see her, she's not my client. I see that on my couch, in my room. I see people trying to overcome and forgive themselves and relinquish the hold that as much as they are out of that situation, as much as their possible abuser is not in their lives, at times, they're still in here. And that is the hardest piece, is trying to let go of all the conditioning. And for Priscilla, 23 years of conditioning. You have to think 23 years of her life. And as she says, she feels like she wasted her best years for him. And how so much so she wants to have her own family. But because of the things that she has gone through, she is still grappling with what she has walked out of physically, but mentally at times is still captive. Okay? And it was a pivotal scene for me when I saw her sister and her having lunch. Do y'all remember that scene? Because it reminded me of two people who have gone through the same situation, but how one person was able to maybe heal from it, push it down, overcome it, but the other sister has not. And because her other sister, because of her sister being able to have a family, have a child, maybe those things were healing for her. But on the other side, Priscilla is still trying to do the work. Okay? And I don't think at times her sister recognizes, just because you are at the finish line, I am not there. I am still doing the work. And the apology was a lot. Okay? It was a lot for me because you don't see her. You don't see where Priscilla is in that moment. They could have healed from it since then, but in that moment, I felt like she was not meeting her where she is. And that's what Priscilla really needed, was someone to just meet her where she is. Okay? And I wonder if that was just a breaking point for healing. Because Priscilla was very vulnerable, transparent about, every day I just try and wake up and overcome the thoughts of not being here. I'm not like your other friends. I'm not like them. I'm the dysfunctional sister. And it's sad that she used that word dysfunctional because there's a lot of negative things, a lot of negative connotations to it. But it just shows you how healing is still a process for her. And I'm hoping that over time they were able to rebuild and get through some things. But it was good to see that. Now, Miranda, on the other hand, Miranda is a victim. She is. But at the same time, I think she's a victim of social media influence. I wonder if she really knows who she is. I feel like she is so caught up in the likes, the follows, all of that stuff that comes with being an influencer, having millions of followers. Does she know who she really is anymore? Because I didn't get that. As much as the cult leader is to blame, social media is also to blame. You get that, the endorphins, you get the likes, the follows, you get so ingrained in that I think people forget who they really are. And they just become a shell of themselves and get caught up in all the stuff that comes with that attention. Okay? Even her sister said, yes, they're back in each other's lives, but it's not the same. Her sister's not the same. And everything has to be for social media. There's no privacy. And I wonder, who is Miranda now? Is she what you see on Instagram, on TikTok? Who is she behind all that? But a lot of people are so caught up in the influencer life that they forget friends, family, a sense of self. And so as much as she is a victim, I think that at times I just lean more towards Priscilla. Okay? And the thing about this cult is that everyone is there voluntarily. So it's hard to punish him. It's hard to really get some kind of accountability with law enforcement. And they make it so hard for victims to come forward. You saw what happened. Oh, you only got one woman. We need a couple more. Oh, you got a couple women to come up? Oh, well, still not enough to convict. So yeah, come back in a couple months. Okay. And so it's very hard when you see Miranda, she's with her family, she's spending time. So how are you in a cult when you're able to go visit your family and you're talking to them? He's very smart, manipulative, narcissistic, conniving. Okay. And so with that, it's going to be hard, I think, challenging also to convict. But according to Netflix, the case will go to trial in, next year. But it was just so many different layers of this story. And I'm glad the other dancers were able to find their way, find inside them what got them into dancing, got back to that. And I hope all of them find healing. Because for some of them, they're starting all over because they were associated with this brand. But it just shows you how people who don't have a lot of family support, connection, maybe that some of them did have family support, but who are looking for something more, can get caught up in these situations. And I think a lot of people can relate to wanting to be seen, feeling seen by the wrong people. You get into terrible relationships because you finally feel seen, wanted, heard. This could have been anyone's story. But, these are just a couple of my thoughts about the docuseries. I want to focus more on AAPI because I feel like AAPI and other communities don't get enough limelights. I have not seen a lot about them with this docuseries. A lot of it all has been about Miranda and her family. And it just shows you how there's just a disconnect between people of color, their stories mattering, versus people who are not BIPOC communities. But of course, I want to know your thoughts. What do you think? Okay, is it a cult? Is it just a group of people dancing, making money? Okay, what do you think will happen with the trial? Because, of course, we can get into it. All right. Well, I will see you guys in the next video. Make sure you like and you subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Bye.